Welcome back to XDI Live. I'm Brian Spellman.
And I'm Andrew Sparrow. Today, we have a fun-filled, content-packed show for you.
That's right. We're going to get updates from the Logic Factory, talk about food and beverage, look at sustainability and Dassault systems, and talk about Andrew's mom.
Talk about my mom.
Right. You said you plan to talk about manufacturing and operations management.
That's more like it. I can't wait.
And with that, let's get on with the show.
Everyone, please, any questions, any comments, any thoughts, throw them in the chat. We're going to grab those as we go through the show. In the meantime, ready, set, let's go.
As some of our astute fans, viewers, may have noticed, we have a recurring segment on this show. We want to keep our audience updated on important developments and solutions that can help them and their businesses.
That's pretty logical.
Exactly, which brings us to the Logic Factory section.
So this month, we bring back Roel, our good friend and partner. We had the opportunity to pre-record a session also with Manoj, but we'll get back to that very, very soon. You may remember Roel from our last show, but just in case you don't, he has been with the Logic Factory now since day one. And I think there may be even an anniversary coming up. They are our joint partners in crime for Delmea and in the supply chain and optimization area.
Yeah, with that, let's welcome Roel to the show. So, hey, welcome back to the show.
Good afternoon, Brian. Good afternoon, Andrew. Can you hear me very well today?
We can hear you.
Loud and clear.
Yeah, perfect. Thanks for joining us. I'd like to get up to speed. We talked, as Andrew mentioned, a bit last show, but we want to find out what has been happening with you and the Logic Factory since we last talked to you.
First of all, guys, I don't know what this show is doing actually, because I cannot go to a supermarket anymore. In normally there are millions of fans. I need to give autographs everywhere. It's enormously so.
Yes, it's great to see you with. it's great to see you without your baseball cap and your shades on. It's nice to be able to recognize you again. Yeah, I get you.
We forgot to warn you about that after the first show.
Yeah, you could have done that. So well, the most important thing that actually happened in the last weeks with the Logic Factory is that last Tuesday we indeed celebrated our 15th anniversary as a company.
Congratulations!
Thank
Congratulations
you,
to you all.
And yeah, it's been a big ride, and it's tremendous, and we're looking forward to another 15 to 30 to 45 years or something like 100 or whatever we want to go for, right? And no, first quarter been very well. It's looking very promising for the whole year. We are very excited, and the partnership with XDI, no, we are. It's going very well.
Excellent. Okay, so let's jump into one of your big industries. We're seeing a lot of impacts using these technologies in the food and beverage world. Ro, what are the typical problems that you have found that companies are needing to tackle in food and beverage?
Yeah, when we engage at this moment with our potential customers, with prospects, but also with existing customers, and we talk to C-level, VP level, we see three themes coming up. The first one is what we would call conflict. The second is what we would call sustainability, and the third is disruption. And let me give you a little bit more background what I mean with these kind of things. And I do hope, guys, that you appreciate my American football theme, because I had this small understanding that what we call football or soccer, that may not, let's say, reflect very well with the audience. That you don't know what that is. So I was thinking, let me see if I could, let's say, link Europe.
I'm impressed. Soccer is a religion in Netherlands, so I think it's good that you've done that. Appreciate it.
You're trying to make this relatable to us. I appreciate that.
So let's start with conflict, right? Because it's not for nothing that I actually make this number one. So what we often see is in many organizations, there is a conflict going on. For example, the VP from trading and VP from supply chain, where trading is, let's say, bugging supply chain, give me more insight, show me what we can do, where can I sell more? And where from a trading perspective is give me more on time, give me the options to actually plan it, give me the options to be, let's say, performing. And these kind of conflicts that are happening, you see it also between head of manufacturing versus the commercial departments, or sourcing versus manufacturing. These are typically the places where we start thinking about, this is the place where supply chain planning and optimization is required.
Gotcha. I've got to say that lack of kind of cohesion and visibility across supply and demand is something similar in manufacturing in F&B. We've got a lot of kind of blindness across multiple plants. They're not able to react in today's world. We've got kind of new products coming to market, which is more kind of SKU proliferation. We've got new packaging coming in, trying to adjust to new products, and that ability to distribute those new designs and those new processes into the plants is very difficult. So again, it's visibility in manufacturing as well.
Yeah, and be able to solve these kind of problems is by, then you can actually connect those two departments, and they can actually make their own business run better. So fully aligned on this one, one, Andrew. The second thing that we are seeing a lot of happening at this moment into the market as well is the theme of sustainability. And of course, everybody would say, yeah, sustainability. But it becomes for real. It's not just about greenwashing, right? And that's always the first thing that everybody says, you're just greenwashing it as a corporate organization. But we see at the moment the next step going in. So for example, in Europe, we're going to have the directive from the European Union that actually people need to prove that you're doing something with sustainability. It's not just greenwashing. You actually need to show it. You need to prove it. And this is where we at the moment see a lot of discussion happening about, okay, for example, CO2. Can we make it part of our optimization? How to make a decision, also not take into account cost and capacities, but we need to take CO2 also part of it. And that's the next level that we actually see. So it's becoming a real thing. It's becoming real that we need to start incorporating these kind of concepts from sustainability into our optimizations and actually make it part of the decision process.
I mean, even in manufacturing, it's exactly the same. That whole sustainability. I mean, you imagine the amount of wastage we have as well. The whole energy efficiencies we're looking at, the CO2 pieces, etc. It's exactly the same. It's a big issue, and it's interesting. You're seeing that kind of monitoring at a European level. People have got to take it more seriously. I'm with you.
Yep, and you talk about waste. It's and this may be the most beautiful thing about sustainability. In the first steps, that if you are as an organization going to make these steps, waste reduction, less mileage, CO2 reduction, it's not only, let's say, the sustainability part, but it's also on the cost reduction part. Cost reduction and efficiency are going hand in hand with the sustainability part, and it's. Of course, it will get harder later on. We know that, but it's about the first steps that we need to start making. And the third one, Brian and Andrew, is disruption. And everybody knows that when a big container vessel in the Suez Canal gets stuck, we have a global disruption, and that's okay. Everybody knows it, right? But we talk about disruptions on a smaller scale. And in, let's say, in the day-to-day, it's about airliners that after terrible weathers have their pilots and their planes across the whole of the United States. And how fast can you recover back into a normal mode? It's about postal and express. It's about trucking after incidents, after traffic. How fast can you get back into operational mode? And that's where disruption is taking place. Though it's not about the major disruptions that actually upset the whole global supply chain. It's your day-to-day, your weekly. It's like those kind of disruptions, and how fast can you get back to normal operations? And that's what we see as the third theme that we see a lot at the moment going on.
Got it.
Wow. So with all of these three things, how are you helping companies solve these, achieve solutions within these areas?
Brian, thank you for asking the question. And of course, it's preaching for my own church, right? We believe that if we look at Dassault Systèmes and we look at the software of Delmia, especially in the supply chain space, we believe that this is the most powerful type of technology available to help out in these kind of solutions. It's not only about optimizing your workforce. It is also possible about optimizing your logistics flows. It's about optimizing your factories, your food processes, your retail logistics, and it's on the day of operations in many weeks in advance. But also looking at your forecasting and your multi-year planning. So that's of course one thing. But I want to, let's say, make sure that for the audience, in the end, and this is where XDI and Logic Factory find each other. It's not about the technical implementation. It's in the end always about the business implementation. In the end, an application needs to be successfully running and delivering value. And there we see the Holy Trinity, in my opinion, the Holy Trinity, right? It's the first of all, it's about data. Is the data available? And if it's of the right quality, can we actually use it? If that's not there, it's going to be very difficult to have a successful business implementation. The second is about change management, because if we are going to do these transformations, the change management part is actually going to make the difference. The technology is going to drive it, but the actual change management is what's required. And the third one is ownership. And this is where we always look up to the senior management of our customers. Is you need to start driving this. You are the leader. You need to show the behavior to the rest of your organization that this is where you want to go to. You put the dot on the horizon, and let's make sure that we get there.
So your point of the data, the change, the ownership makes a lot of sense. But the one thing I'm confused about is in that image that you just gave us for the Holy Trinity, the one sport that was missing from that was the one that's your favorite. So does that mean you don't like it anymore?
Well, actually my favorite, and I'm going to tell you a secret, is actually rugby. That's even worse. Yes, Andrew, I know it. Six Nations. Come on. It's beautiful. And,
let's not mention that, please.
No, there was one country not on the top.
Yeah. But, anyway, moving swiftly on, please. Yeah. You got it. You got it. No, going back to your point, I think you're absolutely right. And it's people, process, technology again, isn't it? I think I'm looking forward to when we go forward in the years that the IT department, actually, there's no longer an IT department because business is IT, IT is business. It's all one and the same. So everybody in business needs to understand the technology side of things. It's seamless. It's overlaid perfectly. So there we go. Talking of the future, where is that taking us in the future, Rob?
So after, of course, this great success of the first show, and I hope the second show, where's Jimmy Kimmel, right? Andrew,
no,
together with Brian,
roll,
we want to go to Jimmy Kimmel and come on, be on stage.
I think Andrew was asking where is the Logic Factory taking us in the future, not where is the show taking you to fame and glory.
Okay. So now let's talk about a few realizations. If you become a little bit older at some time, you can actually have those luxuries perhaps. Where we are in 2023 from a technology perspective is that many technologies, if you just would close your eyes, you would hear the same marketing stories, the same storylines, and that made me think about as a Logic Factory, and I think Andrew from XDI is okay. If the technology, sometimes from the marketing perspective, is not anymore unique, what can we as consulting, implementation, what should we then actually do to make it better? So that's one of the things that we started thinking about, and starting from this process, we came to the insight about there is systems, applications which are all about hygiene, and they're, let's say, money makers. And if you talk about typical hygiene related type of processes, you talk about CRM, ERP, finance, and 20 years ago, those solutions may have been a moneymaker. That's been perfectly true. They even been a moneymaker 10 years ago. But now those processes are very well qualified, very known. The systems and the applications are very much always the same. And you need, as any organization, from small to big, you need to have those hygiene systems. But now we come to the moneymakers, because that's where I think XDI and the Logic Factory, together with the software of Dassault, we can make the difference. Because if we look at design, if we look at manufacturing, and in our case from a supply chain planning perspective, this is where we are with optimization, with medical optimization. Yeah, then we are looking at the money makers, and yeah, I love the picture that we see also on the back with Kurt Warner of the St. Louis Rams, right? He was the American underdog, right? Nobody actually believed it until he came on the pitch and he started making the differences, and the Rams became world champion. That's where I always position us. It's like you may not see it immediately, but when you start believing it, when you start running it, when you start running the money makers, the customers that we have, that's when they also see the difference. And it's like, poof.
Yeah,
that's how it goes.
I'm not sure I ever remember ERP being a moneymaker. I'll be honest, it was more of a cost saver. That was always the stuff we took into the market, honestly. But I think you're right. I think the whole product life cycle, the dream, the innovation, I think the manufacturing side, the supply chain side makes it real. And I think that supply chain and that manufacturing is the reality of it. It's the speed of manufacturing, the supply chain coming in to create that product quicker and getting it in the actual hands of the customer. That's where we make money, isn't it? So yeah, I'm with you. Good. Any final thoughts?
Yeah, if you allow me, Andrew and Brian, I would like to shamelessly hijack for 10 seconds this beautiful broadcast to introduce that we're going to have a very nice virtual business case session with one of our customers, Herbalife. It's going to take place on April 18. Please join, because Natalia is going to explain how they not only did a very thorough research about what's the best technology that fits our situation, but also which type of partner do we need to make a difference. And this is going to be a very nice story, and everybody, please come over and enjoy it, because it's going to be a great story by Natalia.
Yeah, good, great company, exciting. I won't be able to join you because we're going to tell you about something we're doing. But for everybody who's not joining us in our session, which we're going to tell you about in a minute, please go watch Roll in action with Herbalife.
And Roll, I really appreciate you braving the crowds and the fans to be on the show again. And good luck with the autographs you're going to get carpal tunnel from signing. We had planned on bringing in Manoj to talk about food and beverage with you in this section, but scheduling didn't work out. So earlier this week, I had the opportunity to interview him. Manoj has 23 years of experience in the industry. He's focused on manufacturing and supply chain operations. And before joining Dassault Systems, he was a DS customer working on the manufacturing and supply chain operations, implementing global and agile systems. Now he's actually the global industry director for supply chain manufacturing operations at Dassault Systems. And so let's
check out that interview.
Yeah.
Let's have a look.
Met you on the elevator and we say, hey, who are you? What is your answer?
My job is to help our customers with industry-specific solution experience, which in turn help them with efficiencies and improvement across their manufacturing, production planning, inventory, logistic operations, etc.
Sounds like that's a pretty broad range of areas that you help people with. How did you end up working with the food and beverage portion of this market?
Dassault System has a very strong focus on CPG retail industry. Last few years, CPG retail industry has been one of the fastest growth industry for us. With my global manufacturing and supply chain background, I have been asked to focus on CPG retail manufacturing solutions. Now, food and beverage segment is CPG retail industry's most attractive segment in terms of total addressable market, which is almost 48% of the industry total TAM. Wow. And year 2023 to 2026, we are expecting big transformation for the industry. Within food and beverage industry, total addressable market is more than $500 million, which is significant for us.
Have you seen this has always been a big segment, or are you seeing growth where it's getting a lot bigger recently?
With recent geopolitical changes, we see war in Ukraine and post-pandemic impact, this is becoming very, very significant.
Okay. As you're helping companies, what are you finding are the biggest things that they need to tackle, the biggest problems, the typical problems companies are having with food and beverage?
In food and beverage value chain, we see two broad groups, raw material companies and their clients, food processing companies. So when it comes down to raw material companies, most of the time, these are very large companies specialized into food ingredients and commodities. They are typically into food trading, storage, initial processing, and supply chain and logistics. They maintain their warehouses globally. With the post-pandemic impact and recent geopolitical challenges, supply chain and logistics issues contribute to bulk of the problem statement we hear from our customers. How do I sense my demand accurately? How do I optimize my inventory and save on logistics cost? How do I perform my S&OP simulation? Now let's look into food processing companies. They are typically recipe makers. They are the one who actually developing, producing, packaging, marketing, and selling food and beverages items to the consumers. Mm-hmm. Consumer expectations, product quality, consistency, taste, nutrition quality. Even though you are dealing with raw material variations, still need to ensure food taste and nutrition value. Then you have to deal with raw material storage, batch management. Sometimes you have to manage unique storage situations. Since you are making different recipes, you need to deal with frequent changes in your assembly line setup. You have to do the space management. You have to, in short, you are looking into very, very agile manufacturing and supply chain operation.
So you've got the just supply chain end on the supplier's end. From the customer side, we have the expectations. They want the food to taste the same, to be good quality, consistency, all of that, and cost. And with that in mind, and with what you're doing, how are you actually helping companies achieve solutions in these problem areas?
We have 4 key solutions. Operations engineering, we call it OPE. which covers manufacturing engineering, process design, simulation, ergonomics, etc. Then we have operations optimization, we call it OPO. This covers manufacturing planning, scheduling, a full suite of supply chain and logistics solution. Then we have operations execution, which is manufacturing operations management linked with production quality, warehouse, maintenance, workforce. And then we have operations collaboration, which is very important. Obviously, you need continuous improvement environment to collaborate. So we have an intelligent cockpit to slice and dice data, and we have a platform to keep digital track of all the actions and collaborations.
Let's dive into, I guess, the warehouse aspect of all of this. What can you give us an overview of the Delmia MOM model?
Warehouse can be your distribution center when you are a food and beverage manufacturer. It can be linked with your actual manufacturing. You need a cold storage for frozen goods. You need a special storages for confectionaries. In food business, there is a big market for redistribution. Redistributors are typically those who buy from brands and they supply to restaurants, small retailers, stadiums, etc. In food and bev, you also need to manage perishability aspect, right? You will buy bulk, but you have to keep track whether your food items are expired or not. And then you also have a special packaging requirements. This last couple of years, there is extensive growth of e-commerce, and most of the warehouses, food warehouses, are invested into packing lines because they are shipping directly to the consumer. Considering all this, we help our customers with space simulation and management of the space. Then we do inside warehouse traffic simulation and optimization of that. We help them with the yard management. We help them with inventory optimization, stock optimization. Then asset management, workforce management, workforce scheduling. We also help them to track carbon footprint, right? So warehouse management is the area where we have seen most of the ROI achieved by our customers. Customers have achieved 8 to 20% of cost saving using our warehouse management solution.
You said 8 to 20%?
Yep.
Wow. Where do you see all of this taking us in the future? Where are we going from here?
One of the key area I would like to highlight within North America is FSMA. FSMA is a Food Safety Modernization Act, especially Section 204D, about comprehensive traceability and record keeping requirement. And it will be in compliance by January 2025, which means food manufacturers have another 18 to 19 months to implement, test, and get ready for this.
Well, what changes is the Food Act going to bring from that customer perspective?
Yes, this is a significant change, and it is not applicable for all food manufacturers. It is mostly applicable for something we call it farm to fork scenario. And what it mandates is those who manufacture, process, pack, or hold foods on the food traceability list to establish and maintain record containing key data elements. They call it KDE, associated with different critical tracking events. They call it CTE, includes growers, processors, manufacturers, distributors, food service operators, retailers, and grocers. This essentially means that you need to track traceability of these food items across the value chain, across the supply chain. And this is something analogous to what medicines do today.
Do you have any other areas to bring up of how that really is going to affect the industry in general?
Food manufacturers and food handlers, packers, they are expected to track all critical events. They call it key data elements. My advice to the customer is, since we have 18, 19 months, start it early. Take this opportunity that so that you can design for the future. And this is also opportunity to learn your transformation. If you plan it right, then you can really make your business future-proof.
So the key takeaway there is don't wait till the last minute or the last month here to get everything done, which reminds me, I think I forgot to actually eat some food before starting this interview with you, which reminds me about the kitchen. So I'm just curious, do you have any thoughts about what's going on with the kitchen you can tell me?
Yeah, kitchen is an important aspect. Let's take example of hotel chain or airline catering company. We have a solution for them. Using our 3D experience platform, we can help customer to build virtual twin of their kitchen. This virtual twin, uh, using it, customers will be able to capture and integrate all the process data, information into one virtual environment to ensure consistency. It will enable the facility operations manager to respond faster and more efficiently to changing the situation. Virtual kitchen can be also be a collaborative workspace that fosters social innovation, and it increases productivity, and employees across business processes can be shared based on their knowledge, right? Improvement in the on-time delivery performance for catering services up to 99.5%.
Do you have any final thoughts that you would want to, words of wisdom, final thoughts you'd want to leave with our audience here?
For this food and beverage industry, consumers are becoming more and more knowledgeable and savvy when it comes to what they put in their body as a food, right? So
Yeah.
for food and beverage manufacturers, this translate into increased demand for clean food, less chemicals, more nutritional value, more transparency and traceability. We just talked about FISMA. As the consumer want to know where this food come from, and if it's sourced ethically or not, something like that, right?
Yeah.
So this also means we will continue to see supply chain and manufacturing transformation in next decade. A lot of changes we are expecting to come.
So you're basically helping companies be able to make their processes better, their cost better, efficiencies better, but you're also helping to make sure that what we all eat every day is actually clean and maybe healthy for us to have. So it sounds like you're really just helping everybody.
That's ultimately our goal.
I don't know about you,
There you
Andrew,
go.
but I'm suddenly hungry.
It is a big industry. Well, I mean, as you say there, we never stop eating, do we? As a nation, and as emerging economies come through, they tend to be a little more affluent. They tend to eat a little bit more. Unfortunately, we all suffer from that. Basically, it's new products that are coming into the market. A huge amount of options now that we're getting globally. Farm to fork, highly personalized, healthier products. F&B pressures are everywhere, that they're having to handle increasing kind of this FISMA stuff coming in, the Food Safety Act, resulting in cost pressures. And that's before we even consider sustainability. So huge amount going on in the sector. Thank you to Manoj for doing that. We were going to lead into a news section, I know, but I hijacked that because I wanted to talk about Co briefly.
Oh, yeah.
So we have got coming up in, I think, a week and a half or something like that, Co over in Miami. It's my first time, which some people may find surprising, but I know you went last year, Brian. What's it all about?
Well, it's a super exciting experience because we, in a lot of conferences we go to, they're always run by, companies who are making software and selling software. And what I found was really neat about Co is that it was put on by the users of the software. So you get a different perspective of everything. And so I've gotten a lot out of that for the past few years. And yeah, I think it's great. So I'm excited you get to experience it too.
You bet. So we're going to be there. We got a booth going in right next to Dassault Systèmes. No surprise with that one. We are going to be talking digital continuity, digital thread, taking you all the way from engineering right the way through to where it really counts, which is actually building the product that you had envisioned and dreamt about. So we're going to talk about the manufacturing piece. We've even got a keynote coming up talking about all of that. And a subject matter that I'm going to come on to a little later, which is getting you from the dream to the reality of the product built, assembled, and in the hands of the customer, the whole manufacturing piece. So look forward to seeing you there at Co. Please look us up, say hi, come and have a chat. Look forward to meeting you there. For those of you who are not watching the Rural Herbalife show, you can come and see us physically down in Miami.
Or just take a little break around that tiny spot. You can do both, really.
You bet. You bet. So what's next?
Well, CO stands for Community of Experts. And speaking of experts, I think we have another exciting guest to bring on.
You bet. We are now going to turn to Jonathan Quaife. Jonathan and I have known each other for a few years. He has 25 years in PLM. He established his own PLM consulting company and value-added reseller called Use in 2004. He then, having solved that, 6 years spent with Dassault Systèmes as a services director, and he excels at building and motivating teams to deliver great results. If everyone is moving forward together, success takes care of itself, says Henry Ford, and so says Jonathan Quaife.
And speaking of Jonathan Quaife, here he is right now. Jonathan, welcome to the show. And Andrew just gave a fantastic, nice introduction for you. But I would like to hear your own version because it's just fun to hear from somebody's own perspective. So we've just met you in the elevator. We make the mistake of saying, hey, who are you? What's your 15-second elevator speech?
Well, I think it would be that as a services director in Dassault Systèmes, I'm very privileged to be able to focus on bringing excellence to our customers and our partners. And in addition, I think to be able to do that in a way that really represents the vision that we present to our customers and our markets in Dassault Systèmes.
It's a big vision. We know, we see it. How would you summarize that vision? And what is it that really kind of excites you, floats your boat?
Yeah, okay. Well, the vision in Dassault Systèmes is harmonizing product, nature, and life. But we really bring that down to kind of 3 areas of focus. So the first is focus on the future experience of living, which we call experiences. Focus on solutions that sustain people and environments, which we call focus on human, and solutions to realize a sustainable future, where we're really focusing on industry and what industry can do really for where we're going in terms of a global human community. We break that down in practical terms into what we call leadership in business sustainability. So when we're working with our customers, we're really looking at how we can help customers innovate, really speaking to that industry brief, how we can help them find sustainable practices in their business. So both in terms of sustainability with a small s, the day-to-day operations that are durable and effective, and also looking at the people dimension. What does your workforce look like? What's your workforce of the future? And what do you need to be doing to cultivate that future vision? So, to me, working in Dassault Systèmes, that really brings us to an emphasis on positive change, shaping how we emerge as a global human society, and focusing on 2 elements of sustainability that I referred to. The first is actually everybody's got to make a buck, everybody's got to keep their businesses running. There's a level of sustainability in that pragmatism, but also we have a strong emphasis on sustainability with a capital S, which is bringing everybody towards finding ways to contribute towards a solution in terms of potentially catastrophic climate crisis.
Oh, that sounds like a pretty large and encompassing vision, which of course means you've got to have a way to attain it. So what is happening to make this vision real? What's happening to help create this future that you're talking about?
Yeah, so I think you can look at that at various levels. I mean, for example, from an ethical perspective, in Dassault Systèmes, we do place a commercial prioritization on supporting sustainable outcomes that our customers can deliver for their communities and for the global environment at large. So the ethical dimension is important. But in addition, because we are so privileged to work with, so many leading edge companies in the world, it's pretty hard to find any game-changing initiative towards sustainability and sustainable business that we're not involved with or contributing to in some way. So, the sort of thing that we're involved with today is, energy transition, green steel initiatives, and even the realization of energy generation from nuclear fusion.
So you sent us an interesting image, I think from DC Comics, with Firestorm, the Nuclear Man. There's got to be a reason why you sent this over to us, other than just being like Roel and trying to send things he thinks Americans are going to like with football. So what's up with this?
Yeah, I can't compete with Roel, I'm afraid. So I mean, I think the reason I shared this image, I think primarily, is it comes from the 1980s, and the vocabulary that's here around fusion is quite astonishing. So the fury of fusion unleashed is a caption on that comic book cover, and really, through most of my life, there's been a kind of mystique around fusion. It is a thing of science fiction, and that tenor has really punctuated most of my life in terms of discussion and awareness of potential energy generation from fusion. So we were talking about fusion energy even back in the 1980s, and it always was 15 years away. What I find amazing today is that actually now it really is 15 years away. I mean, the investments are now being made towards building infrastructure around an almost inevitable eventuality of fusion as a reality in our lives, in our lifetimes. So I as I said, it's a real privilege working in Dassault Systèmes, because we're exposed to so many innovations in so many verticals. And when we look at nuclear fusion, I feel like I'm kind of living in science fiction, only it's real. So it's quite an amazing experience.
If you're living in, if we're about to be living in science fiction, that means that you've got to be doing some things to help plan for the emergence of this. So what is happening with Dassault Systèmes and the emergence of a world that's going to have fusion technology?
Yeah. So when we look at the businesses that are actively moving now towards a future in fusion, they're at kind of the beginning of an incredibly long and complicated journey in terms of taking a concept to a reality. So they're at the early stages of embracing and delivering massive infrastructure projects. So we are obviously engaged with those businesses at this stage, and we're at the point where we're looking at process optimization, how are they going to embrace this and how are they going to run it in an efficient way, with value realization as a key element in those considerations. And primarily, I think at this stage, we're really looking at the development of information systems that will underpin, these, momentous endeavors as they go forward. But we're also more broadly working in major infrastructure programs in many sectors. And the kind of work we're doing there will also come into play in the context of fusion energy, because at the end of the day, there are many similarities that these programs will have with broad infrastructure projects.
Interesting. Yeah, we're starting to work with customers over here in North America as well, which are fusion, where you've got hydrogen and boron coming together, and they're even starting to tie into, as you say, infrastructure, major power generation, starting to recognize that whilst the electric vehicle world is getting lively, they're probably being recharged using old diesel generators, coal furnace generators, and trying to replace those with, as you say, a more sustainable, energy efficient way. Fusion maybe can bring that in. I don't know if you're seeing that in Europe as yet.
I mean, energy transition is all about the movement to essentially facilitating the distribution of clean energy, right? And when we're looking at, for example, an electric car demographic, which obviously is going to become massive, right, over time. How when we're looking at an intelligent energy network, essentially what we're looking at is how do we meet the challenge of all of these cars being able to get the charge they need when they need it, where they need it, right? So and then underpinning all of that with clean energy production. So you don't want to be charging your Tesla from a diesel generator. That's not where we're going, right?
Exactly. Got it. Very good. Tell it, just you've talked a lot about kind of the infrastructure side of things. You've lent into a lot of what I call the vertical construction side of things. What about on the civil engineering side of things, the horizontal? What kind of sustainability are you looking at there?
Well, it's I think it would be harder to answer the question, what kind of sustainability initiatives are you not looking at, really?
Right.
Essentially, the kind of template, I guess, is BIM, Building Information Management regulations or methods. And they focus on design, build, and operate elements of construction and operation, right? So if we consider, for example, design, it was Manoj mentioned that one of the capabilities that we bring is the capability to track and manage carbon and environmental impacts through a design life cycle. So we can use our LCA tool to plug into a bill of materials or a bill of process, plug into 3D data, and as you iterate your processes or your design, you're also iterating your assessment of your environmental impacts, including carbon emissions. And obviously the reason you're doing that is as you evolve your design or your bill of processes, you're actually positively impacting on that to reduce the impacts and the emissions. So that's one example that's not kind of predictable, if you like, in a PLM environment. Another example would be, it's quite amazing what we're doing with our BioVia capabilities, where effectively we can build models of at a chemical compound level or a molecular level, and we can plug that into our simulation capabilities to then test that particular formulation in a digital simulation. So an example of where we're doing this, for example, or the sort of thing we would do, is if we want to optimize the design of a solar panel, we could build I suppose a chemical model of the materials that we're using for that solar panel design, and we could then assess the performance of that solar panel in terms of over how long can we guarantee a consistent level of energy generation, within a particular range of acceptance criteria, right? So as well as kind of the traditional simulation that we're all sort of used to, we're actually getting into kind of simulation around materials performance as well. So neither of those are what you'd expect me to say, I think, sort of talking in a typical PLM domain, but they're really interesting areas where we're bringing technology to bear.
Just picking up on kind of material performance, something mentioned earlier and commonly is this green steel thing. Let's talk green steel. I
see a lot of construction as I drive around, and I don't see any green steel anywhere.
Unless it's really old.
You can have any color steel you like as long as it's gray, to paraphrase Henry Ford, right? So green steel is, I mentioned that we're engaging with that as well. But interestingly, listening to what Roel was saying, where we're impacting there primarily is around logistics and supply chain optimization and also production optimization. So the kind of capabilities that you guys would work with the Logic Factory are the kind of capabilities that let's say are kind of a leading focus in terms of discussions with green steel manufacturers. And to give you some background here, I mean, the principle of green steel is that green steel is steel that's produced without leveraging fossil fuels, right? So you're replacing, where typically you would be producing heat using coal or whatever. Instead, you're running the whole process driven by electricity that's generated sustainably. So not the diesel generator that we were talking about previously, but your shiny fusion reactors. And it's a big deal. I mean, again, Roel was mentioning kind of in the European business climate, how sustainability is a thing. We're all very much paying attention to it. I mean, that's inexorable. I mean, that's going to become a global thing if it's not already a global thing. So 8% of global carbon emissions are actually down to steel production. And here in Europe, the steel producers themselves have set their own pretty aggressive timescales to reach net zero. So when we're looking at those logistics and supply chain considerations and production optimization, there's a huge potential to reduce carbon emissions and drive efficiencies there. And as Roel said, very often those efficiencies also tend to amount to cost optimizations as well.
So I guess with the your fusion superhero earlier is the sidekick, the green steel. That's what we're bringing in?
Nice one. Yeah, you need to put that one over to the guys at DC Comics, I think, Brian.
Or maybe DS Comics needs to come out instead of DC Comics. Speaking of DS Comics, how is Dassault Systems helping with this initiative for green steel, for environment? How is this actually happening?
It's really what I mentioned previously. I mean, where we're dealing with these companies, the focus is primarily on logistics optimization, production optimization, and supply chain optimization. Yeah, so its capabilities from tools like Delmia Quintic, which essentially allow you to manage complex and far-reaching processes in an optimized way.
Yeah.
It's interesting because Roel made the point that was it 15 years he's been with the Logic Factory? So he was saying that they've kind of moved from a pure focus on cost optimization to a more generic view of optimization, where they're also considering environmental impacts as part of that equation. And of course, in time, that is going to translate to cost optimization anyway.
Yep.
So what is the message that you would like for anybody watching this to take away from the discussion?
Well, I think the point I would make is I think it's important to understand that at Dassault Systems, we do really mean what we say when we talk about harmonizing product, nature, and life. Mm-hmm. Roel made the point that we can't afford to dismiss sustainability as greenwashing, right? I think we live that reality in Dassault Systems. I mean, this is something that is absolutely fundamental to our approach to pretty much everything we do. And I think, part of that journey and, part of the reason for that is I think we're recognizing, and I think many others, of course, are recognizing that enterprises that fail to embrace sustainability as a kind of key plank in their business operations and their business thinking are destined to be outcompeted by the ones that do embrace it. Again, I would say this is inexorable. So when we talk about business sustainability, actually environmental sustainability is part of business sustainability, right? You're not going to be a sustainable business if you're not embracing environmental sustainability, and you're not part of the solution to the climate crisis. Yeah, sorry.
Very good, very good. Thank you, Jonathan. We did have one question coming, which is, and if you could just pull that up, Brian, which is, what are the effects of fusion technology on the environment? I think only positive.
Yeah, well, you'd have to ask an atomic physicist, and I'm not one of those, so I do apologize. But my understanding is, yeah, very minimal. I mean, obviously, you know, these are large infrastructure projects, so there's a carbon impact
Yep.
and an environmental impact there. But you're not producing waste from a fusion energy generation process. So, I mean. You know, I go back to my 1980s science fiction thinking, but my understanding is that it's totally clean and very much sustainable.
Very good.
Yeah, I that's a great takeaway that you did too, with the idea that the companies currently today that are not embracing sustainability are going to basically be outcompeted by those that do, because this is something that is mattering more and more to everybody as we look at the world around us. And it's interesting in talking with you and talking with Manoj and seeing how there are things happening that are helping companies with their efficiencies, their profits, their everything they're doing that help on the company level, but are also helping with the idea of helping get, you know, cleaner, better food to the consumer, helping get a better environment to, you know, to the customers. So it's nice when these things are actually all working together, and you're not just saying, oh, there's this company that's just trying to make money and doesn't care about the people. I feel like in this case, you're really caring about the people, which is awesome.
Yes, I mean, that experience theme in our vision is very much part of a holistic vision, right?
Yep.
You can't take one aspect without the other. Yeah.
Cool. Well, I appreciate your time. Thanks for joining us on the show today, and hope you have a fantastic rest of your, what day is today? Thursday. Rest of Thursday.
Yeah, I've got my my fountain pen loaded with ink, so I'm ready to do signatures.
Very good. Great to see you, Jonathan. Thanks again for joining us.
My
Thanks,
pleasure.
Jonathan.
Thank you.
Good.
Well, let's turn to talk about Andrew and Mom.
Thank you, Brian. Last time around, we were joined by Deepak Sharma, who explained we've been working with Dassault Systèmes to bring to market the only MESMOM solution that is starring in the Gartner Magic Quadrant that can be deployed in 12 weeks. In the coming weeks, we will be launching the solution into North America and Europe, and today it is available, a very special pre-launch offer. Now, we didn't want to come up with a simple replacement of the traditional and comprehensive MOM digital transformation approach that Delmia is pretty well known for delivering. Instead, it's been a leveraging of our collective experiences, best practices, and pre-configured rapid implementations of a highly effective MES solution. So over the last few years, we've been meeting with and talking to a number of manufacturers across various industries, large and small, so startups as well as large enterprise. And they have all been asking for a similar thing, which is a faster, lighter weight deployment approach to an MES solution. So over the recent period, we, together with Dassault Systèmes, have created a new solution that we call the Delmia MOM Accelerator. It's already sitting with 10 major customers and working highly effectively. These customers help create processes and best practices so that we have an out-of-the-box pre-configured solution. Gartner Magic Quadrant. I think I said that before, and I'm going to say it again. It takes the foundations of the world-class Delmia Aprizo solution and brings to the world in core industries a lower cost and a faster time to value. It's the start of your journey to a single or multi-plank complete smart manufacturing MOM solution. It's a journey from productivity to profitability to transformation. So it is what we call Delmia MOM Accelerator. It's a series of pre-configured business process flows and user interfaces using the Delmia MOM solution, but based on best practice processes that we've developed across various industries. It's very much focused on basic manufacturing digitalization. So think of production execution, quality execution, traceability, inventory management, and of course, connecting it up with your level 1, level 2, it's machine integration as well. So furthermore, we've developed an exclusive project plan to accelerate the concept of time to value. And we developed a project plan that is inclusive of all configuration and deployment activities. You now have a contained timeline and a box set of dollars associated with the deployment.
And how long did you say it takes to deploy something like this?
12 weeks to have your plan up and running, 12 weeks.
Wow.
So
how could somebody learn more about this?
To learn more about it, contact me directly or come see us at Co. We mentioned that earlier. So that's in Miami, 1619. Come see us, come talk to us about it. Let us either take you out of a startup world where you're dreaming and you're innovating of this great design and actually make it reality with manufacturing. Or if you've got that tired old MES, or even if you've got a bunch of Excels and a whiteboard out there running your shop floor, come talk to us. We can get you up and running with a Gartner Magic Quadrant solution within 12 weeks out of the box. There you go.
Yeah, that was a good overview, and it sounds pretty exciting. So yeah, take advantage of that, and definitely stop by, as Andrew's mentioned a couple times, stop by the booth at Co. I would just want to take everybody who's listening to say thanks for joining us. We had fun. Hope you did too. And hopefully maybe learned a little bit of something along the way. I know I did. I'm fascinated about all of the ideas of the future actually being here in our lifetime, which is a really cool concept. So Andrew, do you have any final thoughts to close us out with?
Simply, I'm going to look forward to seeing you at Co in Miami in a few days' time. Please come over, say hi. Come have a conversation, or even come listen to us talking away about this fast implementation of MESMOM, the MOM Accelerator. We'll see you then. See you next month.
Cool. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks.
Have a great rest of your day. Bye.